Me, 26 male, and my fiance, Kenzie, 27 female, are getting married this fall. She asked my sister to be a bridesmaid, and they've really bonded over it. I don't speak to my mother and haven't for the last 10 years. Not a word. She does reach out still, but I blocked the number. When I was 13, I came home early from school to find another man in our house. My mom then lied about who the dude was and told me not to say anything to my father. I was always closer to my dad than to my mom. She kept buying me things for days and reminding me not to say anything. But I told my dad what I saw. My dad flipped, and they got divorced. My mom then decided to live with the guy I saw in our house. Unfortunately, she got split custody, so I was forced to spend time over there with my sister. Usually I just locked myself in my room and only came out to get food. I purposely fought with her new boyfriend to force my way to live solely with my dad. My sister got upset at my attitude toward the situation, and we had a falling out. Eventually, when I was 15, my mom broke down and let me live with my dad full time. My sister kept a strong relationship with my mom and her boyfriend, while I haven't spoken to my mom since the day she drove me to my dad's. She kept reaching out once I was there, but I blocked her, making my sister angrier. We didn't speak after I went away to college. A year ago, however, she invited me to her wedding and wanted to catch up. Kenzie made me go to the wedding. I'm glad I went though, because we got some things healed. We started getting closer again, and now my sister's involved in our lives. But what happened last week is I kicked her out of the wedding. I learned through my sister's husband that my sister had a plan to bring my mom as her +1 for the wedding. Her husband's going to be out of town, and she thought it would be okay to bring my mom. So I asked Kenzie if she knew about this plan, and she said she didn't, but that I should go easy on my sister because she wants my mom there, and my mom is pressuring her. But I flipped. I called my sister, and she said I needed to get over what had happened. Mom was really sorry and just wanted to be there on my big day, and she was devastated to learn she wasn't invited to her only son's wedding, that she thought it would be a fun surprise for me. I told her she knew I was estranged from Mom and that it was incredibly rude and sneaky what she was going to do. Since I could no longer trust her, she wouldn't be invited anymore. Kenzie's angry because I kicked out one of her bridesmaids and thinks I should just give my sister another chance. But I never fully trusted my sister after I learned that for years, she was feeding my mom info about my life when I specifically said not to. So this was her second time doing shady crap. Am I the idiot? To add, my fiance talked to me about inviting my mom to the wedding. I caught them texting each other. My mom was ranting off some sob story, and Kenzie ate it up. So I think Kenzie's fine with her coming, and might have even supported my sister's plan. She's been pushing me to talk to my mom for years. She thinks it's been long enough, but I don't see value in having scumbags around in my life. Once my mom cheated, she was basically dead to me. Not the idiot. I'm a wife whose husband does not speak with his mom. She was definitely not invited to our wedding. His decision, and his relationship with her, is 100% his own decision and not my business. If I had invited her or been aware of a plot to have her in attendance, he would have been so hurt and betrayed. Your fiance should have had your back and respected you enough to be no contact with your mother. I'm so sorry your fiance is doing this. I'd have a very serious conversation about this before going through with the wedding. Also, work this through before you have kids, because she will definitely bring them to see grandma, but she's their grandmother. Yeah, the real problem here is your fiance not listening to you and respecting your boundaries. I feel terrible for OP. Everyone around him thinks they know what's best for him, and even worse, they only care about their comfort over his. OP, you get to decide if you ever want to be in your mother's presence again, no one else. From an outside perspective, this is about trust and stability that you had ruined as a child. Your mother tried to steamroll you into silence. Your sister's doing the same and complying with your mother, and now your fiance's doing it. Put the brakes on the wedding. I don't know if your fiance is just plain naive, which isn't an excuse to ignore your feelings, or if you ended up with another woman in your life who thinks they know more than you about you. I, 35 female, and my husband, 36, got married 5 years ago. when his oldest son, who he had in high school, was 14. He also had a son with his ex who's a toddler. My twins were pre-tweens at the time. My husband's oldest avoided me, and I gave him his space. He moved out last year to go to school, but ended up dropping out and is currently living with some friends and doing odd jobs. We currently have a toddler together, as well as his little son and my twins. We are now planning a family vacation. My husband wants to bring his 19-year-old son on vacation. I told him I didn't like the idea for the following reasons. He's an adult and won't want to spend a week hanging out with little kids. He's not making good financial decisions, and we shouldn't encourage that by taking him on a vacation he otherwise wouldn't be able to afford. He should be using that time to look for a job. He currently lives in another state, and the drive time to pick him up and drop him off will significantly cut into our vacation time. My husband wants to bring his son because it isn't a family vacation without the whole family. I said every kid eventually grows up and leaves the nest. He should accept this and give his son space to grow. Otherwise, he'll never mature and get out of this rut. My husband is mad and is very standoffish now. Am I the idiot? Info. Are you going to drop your twins and toddler too once they're 18? Or is it just your stepchildren who aren't part of the family once they reach adulthood? First of all, 19 is not a full-blown adult. Second, planning a family vacation and saying one kid is not invited is a super crappy thing to do. That would create irreparable damage to my relationship with my wife. It would be best if you got it together. You are the idiot. It seems to me like you're trying to have way too much control over your stepson, or you don't want him to come because you don't consider him family and you're looking for excuses. Either way, you are the idiot. One last thing. I said every kid eventually grows up and leaves the nest. They're still a part of the family after they move out. OP is a raging idiot who just doesn't like her stepson and wants to cut him out of the family. But of course, she'd not exclude her kids from trips when they're 19 in a few years. And of course, that's different because her precious little angels would never grow up to be such huge disappointments like the stepson. Major wicked stepmom vibes from OP. It's the not making good financial decisions part that gets me. She married a dude who had a kid while he was in high school. Literally the definition of poor financial decisions. So now that the child from her husband's high school-aged poor financial decision-making is older, she seeks to punish the son for being a result of poor decisions on her husband's part. The mind reels. Man, you had an additional child with him after you brought 2 kids into the marriage. Unless you two are very well off or live in a magical fairyland where children are cheap, having 5 kids is not a good financial decision. Maybe you should cancel your slot in the vacation. Background. I, 22 female, got pregnant with my boyfriend and now fiance, Ben, 22 male. My daughter, Ava, is a toddler. I'm assuming you can guess from our ages that this wasn't a planned pregnancy, but we decided we wanted to keep her and become parents. It was challenging. I know it's not an ideal situation. However, I regard it as the best thing that's ever happened to me. I love my daughter more than anything else in this entire world. Also, Brian and I just both graduated college, and we have jobs. We managed to graduate on time, which is a pretty big accomplishment, considering our situation. I don't know, maybe it's not, but I'm proud of us. My grandmother is very religious and traditional, so saying she was upset when she found out I was pregnant would be an understatement. She didn't talk to me until I was nearly 9 months, when she begged me to put the baby up for adoption. However, I thought she finally was coming around. She even came to Ava's recent birthday party and gave her a Christmas present, a pair of pajamas, this year. There was supposed to be a family reunion in 2020, but it was canceled and is happening this year. My grandmother's hosting it. She invited me, but I can't bring Ava or Brian. I know she can invite who she wants, but that's not the problem. I did ask why, though, since my sister and cousins are bringing their kids. She told me that she wouldn't allow me to parade my excuse of a family around. She said it's shameful to the family that I had a baby out of wedlock. She also told me that she didn't even want to invite me because being there is almost just as bad. since everyone knows what a disgrace I am, but my dad would have pitched a fit if she invited my sister and not me. I told her I wasn't ashamed of Ava, and she shouldn't be either. She told me that my mistake meant my family would be judged. She also called Ava the B word. I was angry, still am. I was shaking when she told me that. I told her that she wouldn't have to be ashamed of Ava or me any longer because she wouldn't be seeing either of us anytime soon. I'm not attending the reunion now and intend to avoid events my grandmother will be at. Also, for the sake of honesty, I may have called her a stuck-up old witch. I'm furious. She doesn't have to agree with my choices, but to call my daughter a mistake, and that slur, is crossing a huge line. Besides, if she truly feels this way, what's the harm in not seeing us? I don't want her to ever have the chance to call Ava these things in front of her. I want her to grow up knowing that she might be unplanned, but she's very loved. My grandmother's mad at me. So are my aunts and uncles. They keep messaging me and calling me an idiot and a witch for keeping her great-granddaughter, my sister's kid, from her when she won't be around forever. Also, my dad and sister decided not to go after they found out why I wasn't. So I'm also being called an idiot for that. Am I? Not the idiot. Her behavior doesn't sound very godly. And how are you an idiot in this situation? You're most definitely not. I would cut her off too. I'd cut off anyone that said or acted that way towards my child. They can all kick rocks. And yes, graduating from college is a huge accomplishment. Be proud. I don't think people get how hard it is to be a young mom and still deal with daily life. So I'm proud of you. Your Grams is way too old-fashioned and needs to bump into the 21st century. Good luck. I'm surprised your dad hasn't gotten onto her for saying these disgusting things. It would be helpful if someone would back you up. Your job as this baby's mother is to show her love and raise her to be kind and happy. I'm so sorry she's using her religion as an excuse to make you feel horrible about having your baby girl. Your daughter's not the B word or a mistake. You love your daughter and that's what matters. You have every right to keep her out of your daughter's life. You're doing just that by everything you've posted. A little advice since you're young. Family's who you love, not necessarily related by blood. You're not obligated to be around toxic people because they're related. Spend your time with people who respect you. Raise your family in that environment, and you and your family will have real actual support, and you won't worry for a minute that you don't share DNA. Drop these idiots who are mistreating you. My female 31, husband 36, was involved in a car accident last week. It wasn't serious, but he was at the hospital for some time to run some tests and do checkups on him. When he was admitted to the hospital, his mom and I were the only people there. She and I aren't on speaking terms, but that's another story. The nurses gave me his personal belongings to keep while he underwent some scans and examinations. But as I said, nothing was serious, and he was about to come home shortly after. He came home, and I found out I kept his phone along with his other stuff with me while he was at the hospital. He fought with me, asking why I had possession of his phone without his consent, and that I should have let his mom keep it. I told him, so what? The nurses gave me his stuff as his wife to take home and keep while he was at the hospital. He said I must have taken this chance to snoop on his phone and disrespect his privacy, even though I had no history of doing such a thing. Yes, he claims I did it in the past, but I swear I never did. Besides that, his mom and I don't talk to each other, so it would never occur to me to let her have his stuff. That seems illogical to me. He went on about how I treated him as if he had no authority or the ability to make decisions on his own. I told him he should have spoken to the nurses and specified exactly with whom he wanted to entrust his personal stuff. He called me cruel for thinking like that while suffering from the accident and being stuck in the hospital. After that, the argument got louder, and eventually, I had to step out of the room after his mom arrived and said I was stressing him out and needed to give him space and use that time to reflect on what I did. I'm confused. I mean, he's always been the paranoid and private type, so I'm not sure if I was the idiot for taking and keeping his phone with me. Not the idiot. And your next post, found out my husband was having an affair. OP, the mother knows and is supportive of the affair. I think you're the one that should be doing some reflecting. I was thinking the same thing. The outsized reaction to his wife having access to his phone is telling. But, and I'm assuming it's been going on the whole time, he's always been the paranoid and private type. I would be upset about my SO having my phone, only because I'd be bored. In a medical emergency, the wife trumps everyone else present. I would not give him the pleasure of stepping out of the room. I would have given him the pleasure of stepping out of the house permanently. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So someone that paranoid about their phone has something to hide. This is a classic example of someone projecting their behavior onto others. He's accused you now and in the past of snooping because he'd do it himself to you, and maybe already has, showing that he has little to no trust in you. I'd be shocked if this was the first time he's treated you poorly, and I think you need to use your reflection time to think about whether this marriage is serving you at all. Oh, so he's a mommy's boy too? Great. I just got married last week. My wife and I are both in our 30s. I'm Mexican and she's American, but we both grew up in the US, and our families know both languages. My wife planned every bit of the wedding and was a very controlling and nervous bride, but I get that she was stressed. During the reception, I went to the band and asked them to play a song for me to sing to my new wife. It was Te Amore by Miguel Bose. It was the song from our first date in a really bad Mexican restaurant, so it became a long-standing joke between us. The guests really loved the song. My mother-in-law cried and told me it was beautiful, but my bride seemed upset. I asked her what was wrong, and she said I'm an idiot for taking the spotlight to enforce my ethnicity and not just let the band sing our song for us. Am I the idiot? Her accusation is bizarre. I'm not sure what enforce your ethnicity actually entails. I suppose she's implying that he's swinging around his heritage like some kind of weapon. You are not the idiot, OP. I'm sorry. What a weird way to view what happened. You sang a significant song to the two of you at your wedding. This incident on its own is a bit of a red flag that she reduced it to your ethnicity. Even ignoring that, it was a song that was actually significant to the two of you. Does your culture and ethnicity disappear because you married an American woman? Oh, the groom took the spotlight? It's supposed to be on the bride and groom. It's your day too, you know. She should have just appreciated the moment and sentiment and found it funny and charming that you remembered. I don't know why being a bridezilla is acceptable to many people. It's such a major test of how you handle pressure. And if you handle it by being terrible to people, that should be a big red flag to the future spouse. Has she shown any indications of having an issue with Mexican heritage before? You'll want to find out now before you have kids. I guess she has, but it was probably the odd remark or underhanded comment that could be overlooked. I firmly believe that weddings are like alcohol. They don't change people, but they are likely to expose their true beliefs and feelings due to stress or being drunk. I therefore think it's more than likely that this is who OP's wife is deep down. It just took the pressure of their wedding for it to show itself, which isn't an excuse, of course. If I were OP, I'd be reconsidering this marriage. When I, male 29, was 21, I got a scholarship to study in Japan. I was a college student in the US. I was very excited to go. However, a girl I was seeing ended up pregnant. We were not together, but were exclusive. Of course, I didn't want a baby with my friend with benefits. It would ruin my opportunity to go to Japan. I begged her to end it, since why would any of us want that baby? We weren't committed to each other. We had discussed such a situation before, and many other subjects, so I knew that she didn't have a problem with options. However, she decided that she was going to keep the baby. I told her that, honestly, I didn't want to be a father, but that I'd wait until the baby's birth because maybe I'd feel different then. I didn't change my mind when the baby was born, so we agreed that I wouldn't be an active father, but I'll fulfill all my responsibilities. I had to cancel my trip to Japan to get a better job so I could pay child support. Thankfully, my parents also helped me, so I moved in with them. I almost had to drop out of college, but thankfully, I was able to graduate. I still wanted to go to Japan, so when one of my ex-classmates moved there for work, I asked him to let me know if there were any vacancies at his company. I got a job there and moved in October 2019. Ever since, I couldn't come back to America because of the global issue, and also because the rhythm of work there is more complex, so I was always working and trying to advance my career. Of course, I continued sending the money for my son. Well, the thing is that I'm on vacation now, and I traveled for Thanksgiving. I arrived the week before Thanksgiving, and my parents prepared a welcome party with our family and friends. They apparently got very close to my son when I wasn't here, and they invited him and his mother. To be honest, I don't have any problems with them, but we don't have a close relationship either. When I went to the backyard where the guests were, I greeted them both, but I felt awkward, and we didn't talk much. When everyone left, my parents told me off because they expected me to be way happier about seeing my son. We got into an argument, and now my mother and father are upset with me for being so cold. I don't understand why they expected me to be happier. I don't know my son too much. He wasn't very excited to see me either. But it's been far too long, and they're still upset. My friends agree with me, but they might be doing it just not to argue with me. Am I the idiot for not being happy that my parents invited my son to my welcome party? Edit. I didn't kick my son or his mom out of the party. They stayed till the end. I greeted them both, asked him about school and his martial arts classes, and he told me he was doing fine. So I congratulated him. His mother hasn't texted me to tell me that the kid is sad after seeing me. Not the idiot. I'm of the mind that emotions or lack of cannot make you an idiot. It's your actions and your beliefs that would make you an idiot. You weren't happy, so you didn't act happy. People are allowed to be mad about whatever they want, but this wouldn't be justified anger. The kid is a pre-tween and you barely know him. Why would you be excited to see him? If I may, I will give you my armchair analysis. I think your parents have a vision of a Hallmark Christmas homecoming where you and your estranged son have this magical moment of connection, and suddenly you're a big happy family, building snowmen and sipping hot cocoa. It didn't happen, and they're blaming you instead of realizing they only have themselves to blame for false hope. I see it exactly the same way. I'm delusionally optimistic and would want or dream or imagine the Hallmark reunion, but never orchestrate a situation that could be so hurtful to the child. Surprising people like this rarely works out well. Not everyone is meant to be a parent, and not all circumstances are ideal. Part of me wonders if OP's parents were hoping that this would also convince him to move back home. I have a different take. You are the idiot. It's not about how you feel. It's about not letting a child realize that you don't give a crap about them. And your entire backstory makes you sound like a jerk. Girl I was seeing ended up pregnant. You mean you got the girl you were seeing pregnant? Exactly. He gets her pregnant and acts like it's her fault, begs her to end it, even though he knows she's hesitant. Strings her along and says he might stay in her life once the kid is born, if he's feeling it. And now he's stringing the kid along with occasional phone calls and the cold shoulder. His parents messed this party up, but he messed up every other step of the way. So we agreed that I wouldn't be an active father, but I'll fulfill all of my responsibilities. Wake up, dude. The first part of that sentence makes the second part impossible. I, 20 female, babysit for some extra cash on the side. This just happened, and it's eating me up. So here we go. So the family ordered pizza for dinner. Mom left cash on the table for me to pay. It was me and two boys, pre-tween and tween, a large cheese pizza and breadsticks. I've always thought that the babysitter could have a reasonable amount of dinner if expected to serve it. I've babysat a few times and have never encountered this. When the parents came home to relieve me, They asked how tonight went. I said fine and said that the pizza place was really good, as I had never ordered from there before. Mom looked at me puzzled and asked why I ate the kids' dinner. I said I just had 2 pieces of pizza and a breadstick. I feel as if this was not an inappropriate amount to eat. However, the parents disagreed. Dad said they didn't expect to have to feed me dinner and told me not to eat their family's food. Overall, I'm very uncomfortable and confused by this experience. Both boys were fed and didn't complain about being hungry for the rest of the night. I've always assumed, perhaps wrongly, that if I'm expected to serve dinner as a sitter, I'm welcome to have a serving. Is this something anyone else has experienced? Am I the idiot? Edit. I arrived at 5:30, so I guess I could have eaten beforehand. I ate 2 pieces and there were leftovers. Wow, not the idiot. That family is rude and cheap as heck. I usually order extra to accommodate babysitters, ask their preferences for pizza toppings, etc. If we order pizza or any kind of food, I also let them know where the snacks are and to help themselves to water, soda, Gatorade, etc. in the fridge. I nannied and babysat for many families over the years as a teenager and a young adult too. And it was always like this as well. What an idiot family. Don't babysit for them again. They are incredibly rude. The way they said it to OP was so awful. I had such crippling social anxiety when I was that age that if someone had told me, "Why did you eat the kids' dinner?" and I didn't expect to have to feed you dinner as well, "Don't eat my family's food," I would have been so mortified and upset. I'd have probably never babysat again for anyone, and those words would have been burned into my brain for years. What awful people. I cannot believe they're mad over a couple of slices of pizza. Me too. I would have taken it a lot harder than OP did. What grown adults say that to their 20-year-old babysitter? Also, OP doesn't say how long the babysitting job was, but I've been a babysitter for some long jobs, think 4 or 5 p.m., until well after midnight. Depending on the job's length, the family might be even worse to expect OP not to eat anything. I, a teen female, sometimes babysit on weekends. My mom's coworker needed a babysitter, and she gave him my number. I agreed to babysit 3 kids from 2 p.m. till 8:30 p.m. because the parents had some party to go to. It went okay, but the parents didn't get back at 8:30. At 9, I tried calling him, but he didn't pick up. I texted a few times. At 9:30, I tried calling again, and again at 10 and 10:30. I tried calling my parents, but my dad was at a work dinner, and my mom didn't pick up. I tried calling the kids' parents again, but they still weren't picking up or responding. At 11:30-ish, I called the police because I didn't know what else to do, and I was worried something might have happened to the parents. They came, and around the same time, the parents came back. The dad screamed at me, and he's still very upset. Am I the idiot for calling the police when the parents I babysit for were late? Edit. I called the police because I was worried about the parents not picking up, being late, and because I really had to get home. I didn't involve CPS or anything like that. I didn't call the emergency number, and I was paid up front, so not for the extra 3 hours. Not the idiot. I'm sorry, the parents came home 3 hours later than they said they would. They gave you no heads up, and they wouldn't answer their phone. What were you supposed to think? And then Dad took it out on you by screaming at you? Oh, and he's still very upset? Well, you're upset too. I hope you never babysit for them again. And you should tell all your babysitting friends. Know what these people are like. Just tell your friends the whole story. And instead of giving her the real time and paying for her to be there, they tried to scam her into extra hours without the pay. I hope OP's mom has her back. I'd be really mad if a coworker lied to my kid about the babysitting length, ignored calls, and then screamed at my kid. What an idiot. Her mom hung her out to dry too, so I doubt it. All 4 adults failed her, and only one, her dad, has an excuse for not answering her calls. Girl, you did the absolute right thing. You tried contacting the father several times, but he didn't respond. They came back 3 hours after you were told they'd be returning. The father was in the wrong, and he knew it. That's why he screamed at you. A responsible parent would have picked up your calls. I'm sure I don't have to say this, but don't ever babysit for these idiots again. My sister has what I would class as an on-paper marriage. Her husband, Alex, doesn't even live on the same continent as us, and they have almost zero contact outside of the 1 to 2 visits he forces on her yearly so he can lord the fact that he's still her husband over her. We live in different cities, so I'm visiting her for 2 weeks. Everything was planned, and I'd booked the time off work when she decided to let me know that Alex had texted her to tell her he'd be here during my visit. I didn't want to waste my annual leave being around him, and I knew I would only say something to him that would make my sister's situation worse. So I asked her to ask him not to come or to reschedule after my visit. She refused because, quote, we know how he is. So she didn't think he'd be willing to move his visit, even if she asked. I texted him myself to ask him not to come while I was there, since she was too chicken to do it. He left me on read, but he did tell my sister he may not be here when he originally promised, so I thought he was willing to compromise. Boy, was I wrong. He showed up a few days ago and has been a sarcastic nuisance since arriving. He let my sister know that I tried to stop him from coming home to his house, which is a lie because this isn't his bloody home. I've had so many arguments with him that I've lost count, and my poor sister is so upset and stressed over this, which almost makes me wish I hadn't said anything. Am I the idiot? Edit. She still hasn't divorced him, and I think it comes down to the fact that she's scared about what her life will be like if she finally takes the step to leave him officially. And as much as I hate to say this, I think part of her still loves him and wishes he was still the person she thought she was marrying. Officially, she uses the fact that she's in the process of getting her degree and wouldn't be able to survive financially without him, so she risks losing her daughter if she files, even though my parents have repeatedly told her they'll support her if she leaves him. So you went against your sister's wishes regarding her husband. You made the situation worse, and you wonder if you're the idiot? It's not your job to kick out your sister's husband. It's not clear that you understand why your sister puts up with this bozo, but it's not your business to try to fix it. Plus, you didn't fix it. You made it worse. She warned you that it wouldn't work because of how he is, and sure enough, she was right about her own husband. OP is crossing all sorts of boundaries and wonders if she's an idiot. The only option OP had was to cancel her visit. Unfortunately, OP chose to do something else entirely. Typical idiot behavior. This is Alex's and your sister's marriage, not yours. Could he have another family? Maybe, but no matter how much you think she's making a mistake, she can choose who she wants in her home and when. It's also not your house. If you don't like that her husband will be there, get new accommodations or reschedule your trip. LMAO, you texted your brother-in-law and asked him not to come home? Yeah, OP, you're being childish. If you can't stand being around this guy, then leave. Also, stop stirring crap with him and taking the bait for arguments. If he's as big of an idiot as you say, he probably enjoys it. And every time you fight with him, he gets what he wants. My half-sister and I share a mom. She's 9 years older than me, nearly adult female. Her dad died when she was 5, and my mom remarried to my dad when she was 8 and got pregnant with me straight away. Until I was 10, I thought she was the best person ever, and I wanted us to have a relationship like my friends had with their siblings. But she's rejected me as not being her real sister from day one. She also rejects my dad as anything other than my mother's bed warmer, and she's called him that to his face in front of other people. My dad always lets it slide, and Mom will tell her we're family, to which my half-sister will say, she's family, but my dad and I are not. When I was 6, my brother was born but didn't make it. Mom had Grandma come over to watch my half-sister and me while she was in the hospital, and we were told something happened to our brother. I was really upset because I'd been so excited and wanted comfort from my half-sister. She told me to grow up and stay away from her. She also told me it was a shame the same thing didn't happen when Mom was expecting me. Grandma was horrified and told her she would regret saying that, but my half-sister told her that she wouldn't regret saying that about someone she didn't love. The breaking point was that Christmas when I was 10. She decided to stay with a different family member for Christmas, but did show up to our grandparents for Christmas Day celebrations. I was excited to see her and thought the fact that she showed up meant she might like me now. But after I tried talking to her, she turned on me and said she didn't give a crap about me or my life and didn't want me to know anything about hers. She called me pathetic and asked why she would care about someone like me. She told me that if she could turn back time, she would have begged for Mom to have a termination with me because I was disgusting. It was that point where I think I hit the point where I was like, you know what? Fine. Over the last 7 years, I've seen her maybe 3 times. She avoids being where I'll be, and she's made it clear to Mom that if Mom wants to see her, Dad and I are not welcome, and we're not invited into her life. Now she's getting married, and she's invited me and wanted me there because questions were asked. Mom was so happy when my half-sister told her she really wanted me there. Mom was so eager to tell me. My half-sister even showed up to invite me personally, but I told her I wouldn't go. She explained she needed me and why, and I told her I wouldn't make her look better by showing up. I said she wants me dead, and I don't want her in my life. It's as simple as that. Mom cried that we're siblings, and I told her I lost my only sibling when my brother was born. He would have been my only sibling because my half-sister sure as heck wasn't a sibling for me. She made that clear many times over that she didn't want to be. My half-sister and my mom both feel I'm really in the wrong. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your half-sister's been treating you below trash since you were born. You tried to fix the relationship with your sister, and nothing changed. Your mom should de-escalate issues and not allow your half-sister to treat you like she treated you. Too late. And your father? That's awful. Calling the stepfather a bed warmer? What is that? People like your half-sister should be cut out of your life. She didn't treat you like family, and you don't owe her anything. She wants you at the wedding to avoid questions. And so what? You don't owe her anything. Never act because people might feel you're guilty. I have a feeling she's told her in-laws about you, and now she has to have you come to the wedding and play happy family in front of them. Now that your sister needs something, suddenly you have to be the bigger person? It also doesn't sound like your sister had a change of heart. She just doesn't want to seem like the bad person she is. If she genuinely had a change of heart and were making a proper effort, I'd try, but not like this. Oh, go and insist that you make a speech and just tell all the hilarious things the bride has said. Oh, she's always been such a joker, like that time my mother lost her son, and the beautiful bride told me she wished I had been dead too. Or the time she said she wished she had begged our mom to end me. Always joking, that one. I was so excited to see her on Christmas one year, and she told me, oh, it was so funny. I was pathetic and asked why she would ever want to do anything with me. That's extra funny today, considering she insisted I attend her wedding. I guess we found out why you might want me around, sis. Always pulling pranks she is. And then drop the happy face, stare daggers at the bride, and walk out. Don't do this, but I feel like writing that speech could be therapeutic. I am really sorry you went through that.